All right, we are live today on LinkedIn and YouTube. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. Today, we're going to talk about building your personal data brand. And we have a special guest, Scott Taylor, the data whisperer, also known as the guy with the puppets. He brings a lot of energy to a not very exciting field for most, which is master data management. But before I bring him onto the stage, I'm going to actually share my screen and see if those who have joined us, can you guess who we've got on screen here? So, I mean, I'll give you a hint. One of those people is me. And yep, I'll just let that roll and I'll keep that on screen. I'll bring Scott on as a small screen. Hello, Scott.
Hey there. Hi, Kate. How are you? Great to see you as always. Look at
Hello.
that handsome trio. Who are those people?
Look at those people. Who are they? So I was going to give people a few seconds to guess who they are. Maybe while they're guessing, if you can provide. No, don't do that. You're giving it away.
It's how do you not know that's me?
I know.
Sorry to blow it for everyone.
Well, for those who don't know you, Scott, maybe provide a quick intro. Who are you? What do you do?
Who am I and what do I do? I'm Scott Taylor, the data whisperer. I focus on the data management part of the world where data starts. Most data science, analytics, business intelligence, visualization, that's where data ends up. But it's got to start somewhere, which is the data management portion. And that's the part of the space that I'm focused on. Obviously, it's connected to the rest of it. Mm-hmm. But I talk about how you have to determine the truth in your data first before you try to derive any meaning. So truth before meaning, hence the meaning of my truth hat. Yes. So part of my personal brand, which we'll get into, but I'm all about that side of it. So.
All right. Well, I think let's announce what's happening here in the photo, Scott.
So a year ago, it's almost exactly a year ago. I think it was like last week or this week. Zach, I forgot his last name. I can't pronounce his last name. Scriven. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Scriven and I met on LinkedIn, and then he was like, "Oh, I know Kate," and I was like, "Oh, you know Kate?" You know, because this goddess in the LinkedIn space as I tried to break into it. And he said, she's got LinkedIn Live. Let's try and do it at LinkedIn headquarters. So very excited. I got dressed up unknowingly. I got dressed up like Zach's stunt double. And we met at the Empire State Building, as I recall, which was super fun. And we went in and we had our first LinkedIn Live together. I think you and I have probably done 6 interviews since then, aside from, talking to each other constantly. But that was the beginning of a wonderful relationship. Zach has moved on to real estate and doing all kinds of stuff in video, but I just love having met you. You introduced me to the product manager on LinkedIn Live, so I got the access then. And we did a crazy call, as I recall.
Yes. It was a fun call. I used to only go live in person. So the live literally would be live together. This is pre-COVID times, obviously. For those tuning in, we're not wearing masks because this is a year ago.
Or more. Oh, yeah. Here. Yeah. This is a year ago before the whole world,
I know. Now when people share a picture, they're like, where are your masks?
So don't worry. This was not yesterday. All right. Yes. But we're at LinkedIn headquarters, which was super cool. And as I recall, I tried to find the video of it, but we were talking and then they had a building-wide fire drill.
Yes, multiple times for the live session.
Yeah, which was.
But we made the most of it. I think it was good. Scott, we've got somebody here, Matt. Hey, Matt. He says, "Is this Kate, Scott, and the puppet?" Because he was told there would be puppets.
Yes, Matt. There's puppets, but we got to build to it. Okay, there's a bit of. There's one right there. So, but we got to build to it. We got a little suspense here. See how it goes. We got a little time to ease into the puppet part of it. There we go. We're back again.
Absolutely, yeah. And Pedro saying, who doesn't know the data whisperer? Seriously.
Thank you, Pedro. Thank you. Yes. Your check is in the mail. What's your Venmo? I'll send it. No problem. Thank you.
Type your Venmo in, right? So we've got, Andrew's here. Hey, Andrew.
Andrew, how are you? Part of our data community. We have this data community where we chat like literally every day.
All day.
All day. You wake up and you find like 150 notifications on LinkedIn, and I look in there and like 148 of them are from this group.
I know. It's funny because I get a lot of notifications in general, and then people who don't really use LinkedIn, they're like, what are you reading on there? What are you spending your time doing on LinkedIn? Because they don't get it.
And then 100 of those 148 are from Susan Walsh, the
Susan.
So.
Yeah, so I had a good chat with Susan this morning. I love Susan. Susan's great.
Susan's wonderful. Another fan. Another connection I made through this wonderful platform, LinkedIn, for sure.
I think you knew Susan before I knew Susan, no?
I think so.
She
was following me, like.
Oh, she was following you. Maybe you were following her.
I was following. So no, she was following me. But I would post something and then I would get an immediate response. It was like it was a
good. LinkedIn figured that.
It's like, who's that? Oh, it's Susan Walsh, classification guru. Susan, and so obviously, it's a good way to meet somebody. And
that is a good way to meet somebody. People underestimate.
So supportive.
Yeah,
I'm not. Some kind of. It's not like we're movie celebrities here. We're just on LinkedIn business people. So someone connects with you, you're like, you want to have that conversation back again. That's the whole point. So we started chatting in LinkedIn, and then we've had a couple calls, and now we're obviously part of the Data Vengers and group and gone from there. But she's done. You want to talk about building a personal brand from almost scratch.
She's totally uncopyable, as I told her today.
She's tremendous in what she's done. So one tip that people might want to look for is, find your particular niche, if there's a moniker that works, we'll talk a little bit about that later too. But she is, if you think of Susan, you think of procurement data, cleaning procurement data, data.
Yep.
Immediately. You don't think of, business intelligence or a bunch of other ancillary unfocused stuff. So. Yeah,
absolutely. I just thought this comment from Harpreet was good, that you're ready for the disco because you guys.
Staying alive.
Oh my God.
White suit. I can't wear it anywhere else. So, I've got this white jacket that I love. And then I'm wearing my bathing suit, which I will not show you. So.
No, don't. Let's keep the clothes on for now. So
we'll keep it. We're head and shoulders only here. So there you go.
Yes, good. Let's keep it up. Yes. Let's get right into it. So we've got a bunch of people on and they're waiting for us to talk about building your personal data brand or building your personal brand in the space of data.
Yeah.
So Scott, why do we need a brand?
I think it's important to have a personal brand. A lot of people talk about personal brands. We're focused particularly on the data space. If you want to expand your profile and have people understand and know you, for what you stand for, I think that for what you stand for is really important. So there's a brand. If you think about just kind of the history of branding for a moment, it didn't have to do with people. Originally, it had to do with products.
Mm-hmm.
And, whether it's Coca-Cola or Crest toothpaste or, a car company or whatever it happens to be, there's that brand. And what does that brand mean? And I thought a lot about it. I've worked in advertising. I worked with some of the biggest, consumer packaged goods is a really good space to look at, to learn branding, Procter & Gamble, Unilever, and so on. And I've worked in a lot of companies that have a lot of data about those brands. So that's where I kind of picked up a lot of this. And so the way I talk about it, again, if you're thinking about a consumer packaged goods product, the product is in your cart, but the brand is in your heart. It's what you feel about whatever that thing is. It's the emotional side of it. It's what it stands for. So when you think about Coca-Cola, it's a brown, liquid with bubbles in it. It feels like something, but you drinks, it quenches your thirst. But a lot of the work that Coca-Cola does is to make you feel something about that experience with Coca-Cola or with Crest toothpaste or with BMW or Nike. And so if you take those basic principles and you apply it to a person, people have reputations. This is what people think about me when I'm not in the room. This is what I stand for. And over the last, decades, that's evolved into this concept of a brand. And having a personal brand, I think, is there. You want to do that if you want to commercialize what you do.
Yeah.
So you and I, we're consultants, we're content providers, we're brand, thought leaders, all those other things. And we do this as part of our living. And so it's important for us to have a way to have our audience and the people who follow us and the people who look at us have some kind of preconceived notion and think about us in a given way. So sorry to ramble on here, but I think
no, you're good. You're good.
When you think about a brand, you want to think about what you stand for. What do you mean? It's not just the trappings. It's not just the label.
Yeah.
Coca-Cola is red, but it's not just about being red.
Mm-hmm.
It's about,
I know. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well,
that means.
well, one point I was going to make if you were using Coca-Cola as an example, because you mentioned it's all about the feeling in the heart, but they're also in your face, right? Anywhere you look, you're likely to see Coca-Cola in the store or an ad or they made Santa. I guess I heard that they built Santa Claus.
Yeah, they did. No, so our modern view of Santa Claus
is Coca-Cola, right?
Is from McCann Erickson, the iconic advertising agency and the creatives there who put together this, pause that refreshes kind of view of that what's now become in most people's minds what Santa Claus looks like.
Yeah, and I think that very much relates to our data space. And when I talk about social media, I'm going to refer to heavily on LinkedIn because that's really the only platform I use right now.
Yeah, me too.
A bit of Twitter, but LinkedIn. So if you're the data management person, but you're just sitting heads down all day doing that work, that's great, but you're not really building that brand because you're not consistently putting your brand out there in everybody's faces. That's why videos and content just works on that platform.
I think the word consistency is a mandatory requirement. Yeah. So it's not just an option. So consistency around showing up, as you said, around your reach and frequency, to use some media terms, but certainly the frequency that they can, okay, this is what they're going to see. This is the topic we're going to talk about. So that took me a while to kind of settle in. It's a journey. We're learning stuff every day. I learn a ton from you and the rest of the community we're in, and we find little tips from each other. But I think it starts with, okay, from a personal side, do I have a point of view?
Yeah.
Do I have one or not? That's what I think people have to ask themselves. If I don't have one, can I find one? Mm-hmm. What am I? Those are always best if it's really connected to what you're passionate about. People feel that right away, whether you're faking it or not.
Yeah.
And do you really have an interest? Do you have an expertise? Do you have a passion for a given area? And then can you create some sort of unique point of view about it? I'm a stickler for that. So when I started this, I've been doing stuff, I'd say I'd have some form of a personal brand for the last 20 years. Much different kind of area. When I was at Nielsen, people knew me at Nielsen internally and externally for the data management space I was in. When I was at Dun & Bradstreet, a massive global organization, 140 countries, all kinds of partners, I had to find a way personally to enter that company and get better exposure to do the work I needed to do. And I did a lot of internal brand building to the point where the CEO told me the association between master data and Scott Taylor in this company is immediate, which was a demonstration of the success of the work I was trying to do, because I was trying to help them with their math. And that was all internal. So if you're at a big company, there's value to have your own internal brand within that company. Do people come to you for a certain kind of topic? Do they come to you for certain kind of help, for certain expertise? You don't need a lot of fancy trappings, but you're known for that, and they can depend on that. And at Dun & Bradstreet, the salespeople could depend on me coming into a customer engagement and being able to deliver the right kind of message in the right kind of way and help them bring about the success they were looking for. And that's, again, dependability, consistency, point of view, delivery, all those come together long before you choose, what color the typeface is going to be on your truth hat. These are all inherent in the product and the branding exercise that somebody has to go through.
Yes, absolutely. And actually, I wanted to touch on internal brand, but Christina says she didn't know you worked at Nielsen. She also worked at Nielsen.
Yeah, I know. I took a look, Christina. I don't think we overlapped. I was there for 15 years. I left in 2008. I came as part of VNU, which was a Dutch holding company that ended up renaming itself Nielsen. So VNU bought AC Nielsen, then they bought Nielsen Media. Then they brought in this world-class leader, this guy, Dave Calhoun, who's now the CEO of Boeing. Dave, awesome guy. And then he helped come up with the idea, why don't we name it Nielsen, right? So it's just, instead of VNU was kind of this, again, it stood for these Dutch words that nobody could really even, relate to. And they, rebranded it. Probably the greatest B2B brand out there, as an example. Everybody knows Nielsen, but if you're just a person you can't buy something from Nielsen. unless you're a business.
Yeah.
Here's a pure business to business brand.
Yeah.
That has no consumer offering, yet it is known by most consumers out there for one reason or another. So we're going to great success there. So
yeah, she also said she was out of Madrid anyway, so you guys wouldn't.
Yeah, I was on a global innovation group that Calhoun created, and he plucked me out of the business I was in, and I traveled there. I did not go to Madrid, but I went as many places as I could get to, all over Europe, China. It was crazy.
All right, so we've got a really good question here from Chaim saying, simple question with a potentially complicated answer. How do you measure your personal brand?
That is an excellent question, because you've got to measure it almost through the reflection of the reactions that you get. So that consistent, is it working? Is it resonating? So I measured my success over the last year and a half, and I think I've done pretty well, because I started kind of from breaking in. Even though I had done things on behalf of Dun & Bradstreet, on behalf of Nielsen, I'd never done anything by myself. Mm-hmm. So I had to establish something. The Data Whisperer was this cute moniker I would use. I knew that worked. Here's a good indicator.
Yeah.
I knew people liked that because I would put it on my badge at a convention and I would get an immediate smile. Like, oh, the Data Whisperer. Oh, what is that? Oh, it helps calm data down. You don't have to go too deep, but that was absolutely an early indication for me that was working. I tried something before that I thought was a great idea that completely bombed. It actually had the opposite effect. So it was, I called myself the data bigot. All right. And it was like, I hate bad data. So I'm a data bigot, hates bad data. And you should hate it too. And it was like, I realized I had to explain it every time I talked to somebody, because the word bigot is a polarizing. That's an ugly word. I tried my best to sort of spin it as something positive. I had one guy who loved it, and it was like, but it was like, this doesn't work. I mean, I had it on my card, and I think the last time I used that card was when I handed it to somebody at a conference, and she looked at it and she kind of frowned. It was like, that's not what you want.
No, that's not the look you want.
Again, that's just labeling.
Yeah.
But those, are you resonating with people? Are they responding to you? LinkedIn is a great place to do that, because early on I put out my point of view. All right, I'm trying to set that up. Here's what master data is, really simple. And the responses I got were really encouraging. Mm-hmm. The majority of it was positive. I began at really early indications too for that question. People began to share what I did in ways that helped prove their point. So we both know that a lot of people share our stuff. And it was exhilarating for me to reach that threshold where I saw people I didn't know go, this is what I'm talking about. Or watch this. Or this guy says what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So that was clear that, okay, building the following. So my first step was, could I have a point of view that was unique, untethered with any other business that I had represented? Mm-hmm. Would this resonate with any kind of audience? I knew my target was basically data management to begin with, and I expanded beyond that deliberately. And can I build some sort of following? Would people return? Do they care about this? A couple of breakthrough pieces of creative I had that, we'll hint later. We'll touch on those.
Wait, what was that, Scott? What was that?
It's the ITB here. I don't even have them stood up. And then could, again, because there's a commercialization aspect to it.
Yeah.
Quite up front. I mean, you do the same thing. Would people sponsor me to do this?
Yeah.
So if you're out there, as you and I are, really trying to create content both for ourselves on behalf of a market and then in collaboration with other brands, does our messaging, does our approach, does our point of view align with those other brands? And will they sponsor you to work with them? So really delightful experience, but I checked all three of those boxes fairly quickly, had a point of view that was unique, had a following that was resonating with, had sponsorship. And now it's just like, how do I scale that? How do I refine that? How do I, refine the message, but expand the audience? And
also enjoy yourself.
That seems to be mandatory. I've been working long enough. I talked about these big companies that we're going to, at this point, I'm just doing literally the stuff I love to do the most, which I'm blessed to be able to do. I got the runway, I got the bandwidth to be able to do it. We're stuck here anyway. And so that for me has just been, a huge delight to every day just go, all right, I want to be as, how creative can I be?
I know. And you can do whatever you want, because now you don't work for a company that controls your messaging. You can literally do anything. Like you can run a conference if you wanted to next month.
You could run so you just went, I'm going to run a conference, dedicated, data, Kate, all, you've got all the, you're working on all cylinders there, and you can do both, right? You could go on one end or the other and be too extreme. You could just be, all I do is write white papers all day, academic white papers. And if people are really serious enough, they'll care about what I say about, or you can do it on the other side, which is just, I got all the bells and whistles. I got a funny name. I got the right color. I'm doing this. and you got it's all fluff.
Yeah.
So you want to have a balance there between, the branding and the product. Again, the product's in your cart. The brand is in your heart. The product is what people use. The brand is how they think about it. If you watch Mad Men, so one of my superheroes is Don Draper, the greatest pitch man in the history of pitches.
Okay.
The Don Draper at work, not the Don Draper at home. That's a different story. But Don Draper, if you watch his famous pitches, which I watch like regularly because his techniques are tremendous. So if you remember Mad Men, he's advertising he's a creative leader at an advertising agency in the 50s and 60s. And he almost always starts with, it's not about the thing. It's about how this thing makes you feel. And he always goes for that emotional kind of connection. And that happens with great brand, right? That happens with Disney. When you experience anything with Disney, you feel something, and they do that on purpose.
Oh yeah.
So it's not, it's not always a coincidence. It's not always luck.
Yeah.
And so, what people feel about me, what they feel about you, I hope they, have a smile when they think about me. I hope they think about data management, which is the serious side. I hope they know that this is going to be an interesting conversation.
This is what people feel about you. You could be Superman.
All right. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you very much.
So Pedro's excited about Mad Men and stuff.
Yeah.
We had a comment here. Oh wait, Patrick, remove the glasses. He might. Okay, take your glasses off, Scott. Let's see. Are you? Oh my goodness! Look at him go.
Kiss. Is that you, Kate? I can hear you. You don't want to remove the hat, because then I got
no.
See, destroying my brand in just a few moments here.
Speaking of your brand, so Matthew's excited. You brought out the puppet, and well, the puppet's probably coming out by himself.
There he is. The ITB here. How's everybody doing?
It's the real reason people are actually here. They're not here for me, and they're not here for you. They're here to see puppets.
ITB. So I have a branding story about the ITB. So the ITB, I began my history. I did not start as the ITB. I started, my first role was with Scott here. You did it. Yes, thank you very much. He did it at Dun & Bradstreet, and I was a character called Dean B. Get it? Dean B. D&B. Dean B. Yeah. So I couldn't believe anybody had not come up with that. After 175 years, no one had come up with a B named Dean B. So I did this internal video where Dean B, where I just talked about all these crazy things that happened at Dun & Bradstreet. And let me think about I talked about how Dun & Bradstreet's 175 years old. We've had data before there were computers. We had data before there was electricity. We've been in the data business. So it was all this just jokes about D&B. And it was a huge internal video. It was the #1 viewed video.
Obviously.
Even past the executives doing their holiday greeting. So that was #2. I surpassed that. So it was kind of unofficial. I did it as part of a HR project where they had individuals talk about why you should be confident. It was like a personal development series. So I did one of just me, and that did well. And then I just surprised them with this Dean B puppet thing. And I had all these jokes about Dun & Bradstreet. And it was all inside baseball. So it went crazy. It got to the board meeting. It was better than I ever imagined. So people
awesome.
calling me Dean B. I would log into webinars, and there were Dean B. In China, they went crazy. So they started. I went to China. And I brought the puppet. They're taking pictures with it. They had a sales meeting where a guy dressed up so it became like a real character.
Oh wow!
Well beyond my expectations. But they would never ever allow it to be shown externally.
Why?
And why? Because the head of branding at D&B said to me, so I meet her, the CEO goes, I love that puppet. I love that puppet. You got to talk to, who I won't name names here. So I'm talking to her at this, cocktail party thing, whatever reception we had. And she goes, well, I thought it was funny internally, but, and she's sort of struggling. And I finished her sentence for her. She goes, but I said, it's not on brand. She goes, yes. Like she was relieved that I understood.
Okay.
So I understood it like somewhat, but I actually did think, and a lot of the partners thought there'd be some advantage to kind of somehow leveraging this kooky character as Dean B. Again, it's like, something out there. But I understood what she meant, as much as disappointing as it was, because I think I've got some really deep understanding of what a brand is and what it means. But that was her point. It's like, that's not on brand. And we don't call ourselves.
Well, actually, it turned out well, because then you got to keep this as your own thing.
Yeah. I kept, exactly. Yeah. Once I was gone, it's like, all right, I'm taking this baby on the road.
So we do have a special treat for our audience right now. We got some a very, very brief 1-2 minute puppet commercial. Let me give a little context there. So it's Kate asked me for some outtakes and some like pieces that didn't end up in the video. And I'm going to talk about more puppets after this. So I, do anything for Kate. So I pulled this together. So here's a couple minutes of stuff that didn't work. All right. Can I play it now? Are you good?
Absolutely. Yes, that's it.
Let's explain it. People will understand what this is.
Well, it's fun being on a talk show. I get to set up my clip. That's the first time I ever got to.
And we're on.
Hi there. I'm here. Yes, it's the ITB. Buzz, buzz, buzz. After all that integration, we're gonna have to clean up our back end. Really? Can you stop that? Can you? Oh my goodness.
Hey there. Hello. Hello. I'm the CDO, Chief Dog Officer. Okay, we should have better data. Fine. Okay, better data. We should have better data. Okay, we should have better data. Kubernetes! Data. Big data. Big data. Data.
Oh, phew. That's me.
To create a data-driven utopia of interoperability where insights flow freely from workflow to edge across integrated ecosystems, enabled by a metadata layer graph fabric hub for infrastructure scaling, transforming us into a disruptive-proof enterprise while monetizing our big data. It's our new oil asset with an as-a-service model on the Internet of Things and beyond.
Meow, meow, meow. What is that?
Oops. All right, start over.
Looks good. We're a go for SOAP, Yarn, REST, Python, Panda, Spark, Hadoop, Hive.
I know I'm a bee, but does anyone else find that offensive?
Squirrel, SQL, NoSQL, Kafka, JSON, R, and Kubernetes, I.
Kubernetes!
All right, now what do we do?
I got no freaking clue. What am I supposed to do?
Am I back?
Okay. Hey, I don't know what happened. I lost connection after this. Can you hear me, Scott?
I think I'm back. If I'm back, I'm by myself. I did not hijack Kate's show. She's trying to log back in here.
Wait, can you not?
She's on. We're having trouble connecting.
Can you not hear me? Scott.
So we're talking about personal brand here, and I've taken over Kate Strachny's show. It's now me. Dedicated. I'll go get my dedicated t-shirt so she knows I'm on the right brand here. But
You killed Kate.
are we on?
Scott, can you hear me?
Whoop.
Oh my God.
Kate, did we lose you?
They see you. They see me and hear me. Can you hear me, Scott?
This is worse than the fire drill.
Yes,
Anyway, hi everybody. So we're talking about personal branding, how it's important, how you want to have a point of view, how you want to have, you want it to resonate with some sort of following. You want it to represent what you really believe in. That's important. And one thing we haven't talked about yet is the focus. You want to focus on areas of concentration. That's my opinion. So Crest toothpaste is just toothpaste. Coca-Cola, you use it for refreshing yourself and for drinking. It doesn't, there's not a Coca-Cola floor wax. There's not a Crest toothpaste car. So similarly, that's extreme examples, but as a personal brand, I try to stand for the strategic importance of data management and the value that brings in all its different iterations. Hi, Kate is saying she's texting me here, but no, we can't see you, Kate. I can't see you. I don't know if you're on as well. Sorry for the technical difficulty here, but one thing you can count on from me is no dead air. I'll just keep going.
No.
So you want to focus on what your topic area is. So for instance, I'll use me as an example. I always think I'm a great example. I've got a lot of experience in sales. I ran a sales group. I did sales training. I almost wrote a sales book, and my whole family's in sales. She's telling me to leave and come back.
Oh my God. So hopefully you guys can still hear me and see me. I'm assuming you can. For some reason, StreamYard decided to give us two separate streams, but you can all still hear us. So let's see if you can leave and come back. I think running that 2-minute commercial broke the internet. Hope you guys enjoyed watching that crazy puppet stuff. I missed a lot of the comments and questions that came in earlier, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I was reading the comments and it was pretty funny. So hopefully he comes back. In the meantime, I guess while I have your attention, while he's not back. Oh no, I see him. He's back. He's waving. All right, I'll add him in.
I'll wait. Okay.
Oh no, I just wanted to tell people about the Dedicated conference that's coming up October 27th, 10 a.m. Eastern to 2 p.m. Eastern. It's free to attend, 4 hours. And guess what? Scott will be there as well. I think he might
I'm going to help you kick it off, right?
Yes,
I'm in the early group because I'm about where data starts.
Yes.
That's my message. So
absolutely.
I'll tell you, my whole session in one line is, if you don't do the stuff I'm talking about, everything else you're going to see that day doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
That's
it. All starts. It's like getting the good soil before you can plant a tree and a flower. So.
Exactly. Perfect analogy. That's a great analogy for sure. Oh, the commercial is fun. We're back. So I was just rambling on.
Yes, and I heard you. I kept trying to
was,
talk while you were talking.
Yeah, I have no problem. As I said, you can always depend on me for no dead air. But I was talking about kind of focus.
Yes.
If you've got a brand, personal brand, again, focusing on, in a lot of cases, a topic area. So I've got a big background in sales, in case you didn't notice. I was a salesperson. I'm 4th generation sales. My father was in sales. My grandfather was in sales. My great-grandfather at the turn of the previous century, in the late 1800s, was one of the first 10 rabbis in Texas.
Okay.
So believe me, that was selling. Okay. He had a tough territory there. But I don't post about sales.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a lot of tips. I used to do sales training. I used to do presentations. I've got a lot of stuff, but I look at that and it might be nice. Some of them are funny. Some of them are really unique. Yeah. I think but I don't have something to do every day on it. And so for me, it's that discipline of not doing that. So in your personal brand, while you think about what you are, think about also what you're not. Stick to that. It can still evolve, but I keep coming back to the point of view. What's your point of view? And that point of view everybody's not going to agree. So you got to go with that too. Everybody doesn't buy the same product. Everybody doesn't agree. I've got people who poke at me. They poke at you, probably not as many as you as me, but
you're pokeable. You're easily pokeable, Scott.
I guess so, because I'm kind of out there. But for instance, there's some very technical practitioners who are really deep into the data management space at a very technical level who disagree with what they think I am saying.
Yes, and you'll have that, right? That's when you take a stand, you can expect that there'll be an opposing point of view.
Yeah. And most of the time if I do build a relationship with any of them, and I'm proud that I actually reach out to some of them, and then some of them have like healthy relationships, and some of them are some of my biggest supporters right now because I had that conversation. But invariably, even if we go back and forth in LinkedIn,
yeah,
it comes down to, I'm just talking about the first 5 minutes of your 5-hour session. I'm just talking, we're in the same category. And then they'll go, but when you get down to this and this, and I go, yeah, when you get down to, I'm not there. That's not me. So I don't talk about the how. I talk about the why, and I stay focused on it. We all have a position to play. I think I play mine really well, but I know my position. That's core. Again, what's your point of view? Does it resonate? Will people respond? It's all really important as part of defining whatever you want to say with your brand. And then get the fun stuff. You've got the t-shirts. I go with truth. I got a couple. I
definitely have fun with my branding.
The truth hats and the puppets. The puppets are part of what the puppets talk about is the importance of focusing on the data.
Yeah.
And that's deliberate. It wasn't just how much fun I could have with puppets. It was a way to break through. Clearly, I can write white papers. I've done that. I've been hired to write white papers.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But, guess which one gets more engagement, puppet shows or white papers?
The white papers, obviously.
So, and I'm planning, this is actually an announcement here. So I'm announcing this on Kate Show officially. I am planning an epic series of extended episodes about the puppets.
Okay.
So we established our hero, the CDO, the chief dog officer. He's kind of the hero of this story. You got the ITB as his kind of annoying, but dedicated partner. You've got Monkey Business is sort of dumb, and from the business side, he's the guy who says, "If big data is so big, how come I can't see it?" So,
well, business is not dumb, Scott, right?
I mean, but in this context, it's like, what are they dumb? They're not dumb. I'm exaggerating it, obviously.
Yes.
And you exaggerate the propensity.
I'm here to defend the business.
They're here. I mean, I'm from the business, but the business doesn't understand a lot of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So in the business, a line that the monkey says is like, can we start monetizing our big data? Because that's all he hears about. It's like monetization, doesn't know the sort of guts of it.
Yeah.
So the next episode, so here's kind of the arc. I'm working on this epic arc here as usual. I go way too far, but we'll pull it all back. So they've got to go on a journey to find their data solution. So what's the first thing you do when you don't know what to do with your data? You go hire an expensive consultant. So they're going to hire, the next character coming in is a cat consultant.
Do you have the cat consultant with
I have a cat. I already have him. He's over in the box over there. A cat consultant from Meow Kinsey. And so I get to play with kind of the consultant part of it.
Yeah.
He's only interested in billing. That's all he's interested in. All he's interested in is keeping these people on the phone, giving them, maturity things and matrices and all that kind of stuff. So that'll be a blast.
Yeah.
Then they've got to go. So he convinces them of an idea. And this idea I'm going to come back to because I think it's important for you to know about. And then they're going to review some tools. So I have a couple of tools coming in. Do I have those over here? I'll give you a preview. One of them is Salesforce, and the other one is Microspoon. So that's all I'll tell you. And they come in and do demos. So we'll see how that goes. Then they buy a tool, of course, without knowing what to do with it. And they keep forgetting the data is important. So that's kind of the theme through there. Like the data. Then they're going to meet some other sort of they're going to realize they're missing the culture angle. So they're going to go off on this whole culture thing. And then finally, I think they're going to come to this enlightened moment where they realize the tools don't matter. The consultant doesn't matter. It's all about, you've got to focus on the data.
Yeah.
And there'll probably be some sort of surprise ending there. So I'm hoping this is at least 2 or 3, if not more episodes.
Where is this is this on your YouTube channel or on LinkedIn?
It'll be on YouTube. It'll be on LinkedIn. Now that I've finished my other project, which is, is I was writing a book. So I don't want to talk too much about that because I don't want to jinx it yet because I got to hear back from the editor, make sure they think it. I think it's the book. I got to make sure the publisher thinks it's the book. but now I can work on the puppets. So
Yes. And
sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, while you're giving announcements, if you want to do your MDM announcement, for those who don't know, Scott's doing this crazy 24-hour session of a master data marathon. So why don't you tell people?
The MDM, the Master Data Marathon. Yes, it is crazy. I found out, by the way, it's 24 hours in a row.
Yes.
Before
come on.
Just in a row. So, but it's a global event with the great folks at Think Linkers. Kate has generously offered to have a conversation with me. We're good at having conversations. Again, we tend to swap off who's interviewing who. I think we lose track here. And we've got some great practitioners from all over the world. Nestle, Philips, these are serious companies who are putting real master data, MDM data management programs in place. So very excited. But so I want to get back to like this idea that they find. So this is unrehearsed here, but I want to share this with you. Okay. So there's the consultant shows them a presentation. I'm not going to give too much background around the presentation. And there's a speaker at this presentation who's like a global thought leader, and just people are just completely amazed with every word they say about data. Okay. Now, one thing I'm going to do is I'm not doing all the characters. So, Kate, I'm writing this character for you. I'm inviting you to be the voice. That's all you have to do is the voice. Okay?
Seriously, actually I wrote down while we were watching the commercial before my internet or my laptop decided to take a break. I was going to ask you about voices, and really, that's.
So, wait, that's. I've been dying to tell you this, so I didn't tell you, and I thought, she's
you have to tell me live, really?
This is like, one of those moments somebody asks something in front of everybody. How can you say no? So yeah, I'm
taking a proposal. Yeah, I do.
So you'll be great. You got the stage presence. You know how to do. I'm working on the technology to be able to get somebody's voice and then kind of dub it in there. So I think I'm going to practice that a little bit. But so this is like a presentation, kind of like a TED Talk presentation.
Okay.
Ish from a puppet, and they talk about this idea that's going to change the entire nature of data, and that's what the consultant recommends to this group, and they go crazy over it. Okay, so it's a great part.
Pedro said the moment Kate is speechless. Yes, I was like,
yeah, there you go.
At least people know that this is live, very much so.
And I got a few other friends who I'm gonna Shanghai into doing other voices, because I just have a limit. I got to get more women in the cast. So you're clearly you check that box too.
Thank you. I'm so glad I checked one of your boxes.
For sure, it was like, all right, I need like somebody who's already sort of known in the space. So that's you.
Thank you. Okay, let's do it. I'm in.
Okay, excellent. We're a yes.
Yes.
As my daddy taught me in sales, when you get the yes, shut up. So
yeah,
good. We're good.
That's actually a good lesson. Yeah, people keep selling after they sell.
It is an excellent lesson.
And then they keep saying with this, and then you'll also get this, and you're like, okay, I already agreed to this. What are we doing?
I learned it. We're rambling around here. I told you my father was in sales. One of my first sales jobs was working for him. And I went out and I was talking to a buyer, and they said yes. I'll tell you a very short version of the story. And I said, that's great. It's just like last year. And they said, oh, really? I wasn't really happy with last year. I'm going to reconsider this. And I was like a young sales guy in my 20s, and I couldn't cry in front of them. So I waited till the elevator, and I was just like, what? And I told my father, and that's when he explained to me. He said, son, you just learned one of the most important lessons in sales. When you get the yes, shut up.
Yeah. That's a very good lesson. If
Yeah.
anyone got anything out of our session today, I think this is a very good lesson.
I was just saying how I didn't want to promote stuff about sales, but I was good at it. So it's
not even just sales, right? It's like getting an interview. Once you hear yes, you can also shut up.
Yeah. And so people realize it's just shut up sort of figuratively here, metaphorically. You don't stop talking. You just go, my father was like, oh, that's great. So, where do you want to go to lunch? Or I love that lamp, or what happened yesterday? Or are you going to the ball game? It's like sort of you keep talking, or you keep engaging, but you don't keep selling because you've gotten the commitment. And I put that in my book, because part of my book's purpose is to help people sell in data management. So I will have some sales stuff, and there's a little sidebar, crash course in sales, and that's one of them. If you go up to your executives and you're getting support for whatever your data project is, and they say yes, and they've committed to what you want, go do it. You've gotten the yes. Don't, oh, I got 5 more slides I want to show you. We did all this work on this stuff, and we really, no.
That's so true, though. People do that. People actually do that. I've seen it a lot.
Especially if you're with high level. If you're with a CEO and they say yes, man, that is the quickest you should shut up. You should just be out of there. You'll get invited back. Oh, I'll give you your time back here. Another.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Don't show all. You don't have to show everything you thought of to get to that point.
Yeah.
And I think this is true, like you're saying, a lot of engagement with folks. And this happens a lot in the data space, to bring it back in the data space. That's why people spend a lot of time when they present what they want to do with data. They talk way too much about the how, or, the generic data science activity where they describe, like, first we tried this, and then we tried that, and then we did this, and then we did it this way. And that's all important work. And we believe you. We appreciate your suffering. But I'm a business person, and I want to know what you ended up with. How's that going to help? Why is that going to help me?
Yes.
So we can talk later about your struggle and all these wonderful things you did and your algorithms and the 37 tests. You need that to back it up, but that's not the story you come in with.
So I think you know the data ninja, right? Pedro Cardoso. He's commented on our session probably 1,000 times at this point. So
he's just a
no. When people do that, Pedro, I am inviting you officially to join the conversation. We have 10-15 minutes left.
Wow.
If you'd like to join, let me know in the comments, and I'll just send you a link on your LinkedIn. You can join us and talk live, because I feel like he wants to be part of the conversation.
I feel like he does too. I feel like he's live already. So you may want to reconsider that invitation.
Yes. So if he's up for it, I did this once with Steve Miller, actually. Brought in Matthew, who's also here right now. And it was fun. It was fun just to bring somebody. Okay, let's see.
Bring in somebody.
Does not know me. I'm just a shadow. Okay.
Oh, my goodness. Is that what Pedro said about himself? Oh, Pedro. Come on.
Pedro, are you in or are you out? Anyways, we'll continue on. If you want to join us.
All right, fine. You can just, some people just like to cheer us on. We appreciate that. Yeah, so there's a place for all of us here. So it's
yes.
Good.
So he said, how can I say no? All right. So
I guess when you get the no, we shut up too. So what else can we talk about? Anybody got questions on sort of this personal branding thing? So we went around on it. Any other thoughts, any ideas? Are people looking for stuff? My advice, again, centers around, don't get distracted by the trappings. If we continue on this metaphor of a product, like a tangible product, and that product has a brand, you got to know what's in that product box first, what that is, what that deliverable is, before you spend a lot of time designing the label and putting, a cute little box and look at this packaging. There's a classic movie, again, I think this relates back to my advertising heritage, a movie with Rock Hudson and Doris Day, which is, I think it's the one they did called Send Me No Flowers. So the folks out there can keep me honest. Find the Rock Hudson and Doris Day movie where Rock Hudson plays an advertising executive. And it's very similar to Mad Men. So it's all in that ilk there. So he's an ad executive, and there's sort of like this kind of on again, off again romantic relationship. And Doris Day is an executive as well. And what happens is Rock Hudson or somebody's boss's girlfriend, this was done in the 50s, so you can understand kind of the kind of.
I remember those times, yes.
The characterization. You got to go back to literature. So somebody's girlfriend wants to be in commercials. So what they do is they film a bunch of commercials with this woman for a product that doesn't exist. So the product's called VIP, VIP. And it's only so some boss's girlfriend can have something to do and she wants to be in commercials. And they do all these elaborate commercials and all the rest of it. And she's like, my life's never been the same without VIP. Or I never would have, my family is always happier with VIP. And all these generic situations. There's no product. Since it's a comedy, somehow somebody sends those commercials to a TV station and they get run.
Mm.
So now they have a brand
Yeah.
and no product.
That's interesting.
Nothing. They got nothing to sell. So they've got to back into, so then they have to create a product, and it gets a little off the rails there. But just that notion of like, here is all the trappings. They even have advertising. They've got a name. They got positioning. Here's all the things you should feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that the product doesn't even exist. So my point is, if you have a brand, you also need a product. You need something as a hard deliverable that
Right.
people get from whatever interchange they have with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And while we're waiting on Pedro, he's in, by the way. He's going to join us.
Is it changing? Where is
Yeah,
it?
we've had a couple of questions, all sort of similar, right? So I'll read 3 of them. So how do you build a brand when you have a lack of time? How do you keep working on the brand when it's not progressing? And what's the minimum amount of time or deliverables that get traction to build your brand? So you answer all those questions. I'm going to go message Pedro.
Okay. Yeah, I would say there's no hard and fast answer to any of those. Time-wise, it's what you want to invest in it. Part of my business is based on some form of recognition, some form of understanding of what I do. And I've reached a point where at least, I'm really pleased and totally grateful, and not like, assuming it's always going to happen, that I've begun to get that. So people will talk to me, they'll have a little smile, they will have seen my stuff already, they will have some sense of my point of view and my energy, my, humor and all the rest of that.
Mm-hmm.
That takes as much time, how much you put in is how much you get out. So it's that important. I think when somebody said sort of efficiency, or when so if you don't have time to do it, then think of what your objectives are. What do you want to be? So it may just be you just want to make your reputation a little bit better, or you want to focus a little bit more on what you do. You don't need a funny moniker or, the hat or the puppets or the T-shirts, and you just want to be known for something.
You need T-shirts, Scott. I think we need to.
All right. Well, all brands need T-shirts. And then I forgot, what was the other question there?
So the minimum amount of time it takes you to actually build a brand. And if it's not working, like, how do you keep pushing?
Yeah. So if it's not working, do you keep pushing? Do you just change it a little bit? Does it work or not? My story about data bigot versus data whisperer was very,
I prefer data whisperer. Yeah. I don't think I talked to you if you were the data bigot.
Exactly. So I thought it was hilarious. I had like 3 people who thought this is great. I had business cards. I threw away the business cards. It's like,
well, I'm glad people gave you real feedback though, because people are nice and they're like, oh, that's cool. And I'm glad you were perceptive enough to pick up on that frown from that woman.
Yeah, it's hard to ignore that, especially when people are generally smiling. But even things where I've kind of, reached a little too far. If I didn't start with all the things I say I do today. So it's, I wouldn't call me fully agile here, but there's an iterative process. You see what works, and the way you probably see this too, right? You put something together. LinkedIn's the example we can use. You put something together, you think like, this is it. This is great. And it just lies there. And you do the opposite extreme has happened too, where it's just, I don't know what I'm going to do today. Oh, I'll run this whole video. Oh, I have an idea and I write a 3-line thing and it takes off.
Yeah.
So it's being, there's the Polonius advice, to your own self, be true here. People see that. They can feel that, whether you're genuine or not.
Yeah.
I think it was Laurence Olivier or some actor at some point who said, well, it's all about authenticity. And if you can fake that, you've got it made. So
yes, I was going to bring up that quote and I didn't know exactly how to say it. But guess who's here, Scott? The data ninja. I'm going to, yes.
Data ninja himself. There he is.
Ninja's here. Hello.
Hey,
what a thrill. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Are you excited?
I am very excited. Just for the record, I've had literally 3 hours sleep because like Scott, I talk about the why around data, but also I'm deep in the how. So just on the heels of a big project here, but I'm thrilled. Kate, thank you so much for letting this Canadian on. Another Canadian with a Blue Jay cap.
All right, there you go. So Pedro, why don't you tell the audience a bit about yourself and how are you the data ninja?
Well, I would have been the data whisperer, but Scott took that. And it wouldn't be nice to be a second. Nobody needs another data whisperer.
There are other data whisperers.
There are other data whisperers out there.
There is no other.
I tried to claim the definite article.
You are. You are a data whisperer.
But I don't want to, there's a lot of data whisperers out. If you're in data management, you're a data whisperer. I'm data management. Plenty of room. You're all data whisperers at some point. But
exactly. So a little bit about the data ninja. I've been doing data, pretty much my whole career, in a variety of different roles, right? I've been, programmer. I've been in BI. I learned how to spell SAP in 1999. And for those of you who know SAP, know that once you learn to spell it, you're always trying to figure out how to spell it because everything's in German. And if you're not German, and even if you are German, it's not necessarily easy. So I work for a company and all we do is data. We do data, cradle to grave. But something that's unique about what we do and what I want to talk about as Data Ninja is I actually want to tell people to stop talking about the data. You know that, Scott? We have to stop.
Oh no, I think I need to go off camera.
Yeah, you better have a good follow-up to that conversation.
There we go. Oh, look, we lost. Now we broke Kate. Kate's gone.
No, it was on purpose this time because I had a feeling a fight was going to break out.
And I say that as a provocative lead-in to say, the data actually isn't as important as the people and the process. And, I've never met, bad data, but I've met a lot of bad parents, right? It's a lot of it's about bad parenting and about how we deal with data from a day-to-day perspective. Because at the end of the day, the data that we have is only as good as the data processes we have, the data literacy we have in organizations. So for me, I want to, I always try to pivot the conversation. Data is the absolute, what do you want to say? The oil, the water, what you need in your organization. But just as important as that is making sure that you've got the right business process to support, right? And starting with the outcome in mind. I can't tell you how many meetings, I'm sure Scott has this as well, where, a consultant, and I'm a consultant, and I'll come in, I'm that catsultant.
Catsultant, yes.
Yeah. I've got a new tool here for it. Here it is, right? But it's not about the technology, right? It's about understanding where do you want to go, what's the value you're trying to achieve, and let's figure out how data, people, and process can get you there, right?
I love how Scott meowed while you were talking, Pedro. That was just you just meow.
Did you meow?
I will not be doing the voice for the cat. I hope I have a very exciting candidate ready for the cat voice. I cannot announce it, but if this guy does it, it'll be a global hit. I'm telling you.
I can't wait to find out who it is.
On his home brand himself. This guy is a well-known voice actor. I'll just put it that way.
Wow.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, fascinating. So yeah, I'm super excited to be part of Scott's upcoming MDM, Palooza. I think it's going to be awesome. Scott, I don't know where you get the energy. It's absolutely incredible. Yes.
What's in this cup?
Yes. I need more of that as well. Yes.
Hey, Pedro, were you part of that video with the pounding the table and the clapping and the master? Yeah, that was.
Yes, I was part of that cast of characters. Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna have to check that out again. I didn't pay too much attention. I looked at it. My husband loves it. He actually had me ask for the MP4 file that he can look at it later.
Wonderful.
Kind of weird, yeah. But.
I think my daughter did
Pedro, just a branding check. It's the Master Data Marathon. Master Data Palooza was probably taken, but it's the Master Data Marathon MDM. Lucky by the Pink Linkers.
You got to be on brand.
There you go.
Hey.
Stay on brand. So, Pedro, any advice on branding that you can provide in the next minute or two?
I think when it comes to personal brand, you really have to, Scott said it, right? You have to know what is it about you that people should care about? What's your why? Understand what you're not, right? What you're not. Like Scott, Scott's the salesman. I'm not the salesman, right? I am the mechanic who happens to know what, the customer wants. But I am not the sales guy, right? I can't touch what Scott does. So it's important for you to box that in. And as Scott says, it can change, right? You can move back and forth. But the same thing I tell people when I meet them at conferences, they say, what do you do? And they say, well, I work for blah blah blah. And this is my title. It's like, no. What do you do, right? Because what you do isn't your job title, right? What do you do, right? What do you represent? And it's a different discussion. So I think that's part of brand as well, is stepping outside of your day-to-day, because your brand should follow you where you go, right? Regardless of who you work for and what you're doing at the time, that it should really represent you. And I think that's what's most important.
Yeah, there was a question here. Oh, Ravit asked a question. It was for Scott, but Pedro, you can answer as well. This was before you jumped on. what is one brand that you like and their activities that are really effective? So think of a brand that comes to mind. I guess stay in the data space just to make it more relevant. Who do you think has a great brand?
Let me think here. I don't want to pick any favorites.
Go, Scott. You want to say it?
Just if I look at my old stomping grounds, I think Nielsen has, just to use them as an example, they've got this really strong brew, enough generations of usage that they'll always get picked on by folks, but they're really looked at. And I was proud to work for Nielsen. I was proud to work for D&B, but I was probably prouder to work for Nielsen. I worked there longer. But I really felt I was representing what that brand was all about. And, about trustworthiness, about a objective perspective, about being the currency between parties to help each other understand effectiveness or whichever thing they were measuring. I used to call Nielsen the world's largest counter of things. That's essence what they did, right? They counted people watching TV. They counted who bought products, but it all pulled back. And I think their consistency is really admirable because everything they do is about the measurement, it's about the tracking, it's about the trust and about the value that brings to a relationship between other parties. And so, I would pick them as really consistent, really well known. We've all had our hiccups up and down over the years, but they got this great legacy and this great heritage as well. So there's one for you.
Awesome.
If I were to, this is a bit of a biased one, but I work for an organization called Cinity, and they're not, a brand, like a Nielsen, but in the data space, we're here to unlock the infinite potential of data, and that's all we do. And the reason why I joined this company 10 years ago was because, the first person I met, at this company, didn't talk to me about the data. They didn't talk to me about the process. They talked to me about customer experience, right? What it meant to customers to have the experience of going through a data transformation, under the stewardship of this company as opposed to another, right? So for me, it's all about that customer experience. And for me, that's, really what, data is all about, right? Data is about enabling that customer experience.
Thank you. Yeah. I agree with Ravi.
I saw that. Yes, I missed that. I saw that note. Too late. Unfortunately, we're live.
Data. Can we control Z that?
We'll do that. Oh, wait a minute. Actually, I meant dedicated. Really,
a
better data brand.
Extracts me from dedicated. Absolute de facto brand in data.
She's got the whole attitude.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
The whole package.
Become the Oprah Winfrey of data books. So her data book club, if you write a data book, you better be on her show. Because
well, we'll do a show, Scott, once you're
not on her shelf, you don't exist.
Fingers crossed. And you need to wear a hat, obviously. That's a criteria, as you guys can see here.
Especially if I don't get a haircut.
And next time try to shower at 5 a.m., even though it was early.
Yes. So
it's unusual for me to say this being in the data space, but I think that's TMI, Pedro.
I heard you say TMI a few times this week, Scott.
I know we got a lot of it in the chat room there.
We are Scott. We are a family. We are a data family. A little bit of TMI goes a long way.
Okay.
So Andy's question: should a product drive the business, or should the business drive the product?
I mean, the product is your business. It's what you deliver as a business. So. And I don't know if the brand is in there. If you want to rephrase that question, just go. Okay, is the brand the business? It's the tangible asset that people have and the equity. Think about the words they use about branding: brand assets, brand equity, the understanding people have. Again, it's what they feel about what you are and what you do, and the experience they're going to get from whatever that deliverable is. So the best branded services out there, if you take a look, Apple is, the one of the most glorious, classic textbook examples of that. No matter what, they have 1 million products, all kinds of updated, technology, a bunch of different categories, but they've done a tremendous job delivering what the essence of what they are to people. So no matter what, when you pick one, an Apple product up, and the feel you have and the emotional attachment you have to an inanimate object and the And the difference it doesn't make in some cases with the functionality you might get from a different product.
Yeah.
Right? That could be more. Well, with this one, you get to do blah, 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 blah. But you got people who tattoo Apple onto their, bodies. So their, brand commitment for that entity is huge. So
I expect to see dedicated tattoos for those who attend the conference next.
Okay.
No, Scott, don't.
TMI.
On your forehead, Scott. All right. So as I wrap up the show, Pedro, stay on for the last few minutes if you can. Sure. I want to give those who are still on some actionable steps. What steps can people take now, today, in the next 10 minutes to really either define their brand, think about their brand, put their brand out there? What can they do to actually start building that brand or continue building that brand? Pedro, let's start with you.
Fire them out. Go into your profile, and if your profile lists, your about is your job and your title, change that, right? You don't want people to just say, they can look in your history and they can see, oh, you're working at company XYZ, but that's not the first thing you want people to recognize about you. So I would say change that. It's an easy change.
Okay, thank you.
When you think about benefits, think about the benefit of that people will get from a relationship with you, whatever that relationship is. And that benefit is, again, it's about what they feel. It's about their end result. It's not about the product or the service. It's about what they end up with it. Again, a classic example my father taught me early on was like, son, you want to sell nice shoes or do you want to sell beautiful feet? And again, it's just, the same thing, but it's how you position it, how you think about it, and be consistent as well. So this is not, when somebody asked about time, you need to invest that time. So I guess my last point is really the practical aspect of it's an investment that is not going to pay off right away. That's not going to show results immediately. It's not about, you can talk to anybody or look at anybody who gives you advice about working in LinkedIn and trying to build a profile there and some sort of following. It doesn't happen with one post. It doesn't happen with one tweet. It's got to be consistent, and it will, if you're resonating with people, then the following is there. That much I learned too. There are people who want to hear new stuff, interesting stuff in different topic areas. And to plug LinkedIn, which they don't need a plug, but it's certainly done a lot for my career and my life.
Yeah.
There's a huge audience out there, and they will find you if what you are doing naturally has some kind of relevance and resonance with an audience out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I could just add, sorry, Kate.
No, go ahead.
I'll just add that, sometimes it's hard to try to understand, what is it that, you bring value to. And I always tell folks to, ask people you work with, right? Ask your leader, ask those, even some friends around you. What is it about what you do that makes a difference? How do you add value? Because sometimes you may not exactly know what that is, but maybe they'll tell you, or they'll help reinforce for you what that really is that defines you. And the impression they have when they hear your name or see you on an email, right? So I'd say, get feedback. I
saw this little note here from Andrew getting the nerve to write an article. Go for it. I'll tell you this. You know what happens? Your first article, it took your entire career to write. Okay? Your second article might be a week, might be a month. So you start to dig a little deeper. But that first thing, my first couple I used to write articles for magazines before there was something called content digitally. So it was my first couple posts, my first couple columns were like, this is everything I ever learned. Then you get to the 6th month and you got to come up with new stuff. But that's how the positioning began to form. What do I talk about? What's that topic area that interests me and that I really have a passion about? Yeah. But write the first one. So basically you can get it out of the way. And don't bet your whole heart on it, because it might take off or people might go, oh, that's nice. So keep at it.
Yeah. My advice to Andrew, I remember putting out some of my first content ever. And my fear was that somebody would read it and either disagree with it or think it's crap. And then quickly I realized that the bigger problem you'll have is actually getting people to read it. So posting an article is not a big deal. Yeah. And I see Matthew saying, write it. Just write it. Chances are very few people actually read it. So go for it. Hopefully we'll see something from you today.
And videos starts with that first step, right? So.
I had a buddy of mine who I worked with at Nielsen. We were talking sort of early on, and he was like, I was writing blogs, and he's like, videos, do video. This was 2 years ago. So it was do videos. He said, it's so much easier than writing a blog. So you're right. I mean, I write, but it's such a painful exercise for me. But obviously I can talk endlessly, and you have an editor. I edit myself, but that's an easy way to get your views out there.
Yeah.
And keep it short. Do a minute, do 2 minutes. Nobody can sit through an 8-minute video. So get those thoughts out there. I'll give some more quick tips. You can cut me off whenever you want. One idea. So when you're doing posts, it's good to sort of granularize those to like an idea. If you're going to do a video, it's about it's about an idea.
Yes, there's that one thing you're going to cover. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have, and if but I also want to cover this. Guess what? You just thought of the second video.
It's another article, another video.
Save that for the next one, because if people start following you, they're going to want more.
Yeah, I think one other issue people will have when they're starting out, putting content out there is the idea of, okay, there's just so much already out there. What do I have what do I have to say, right? And I think one thing to keep in mind is you'll always have your unique perspective. So even if you're just starting out, you're a student learning about data management, data science, analytics, whatever, or if you have 40 years of experience, you have a very unique perspective because you have your very own life and your very own way of looking at things. And I think that there's always going to be an audience. Like if you're a student writing about the project you're working on, well, guess what? There are so many other students that are also working on projects, and they'll either get motivated or learn something or learn from your failures, whatever it is that you're willing to share.
Yeah.
So,
beautiful. Everyone's got something to offer. Don't be afraid. Just put yourself out there. You'll be surprised at what'll happen.
Yes.
Do something. An early guy, you cut me off when I was first doing my column, my editor, this great guy, Al Urbanski. I don't think he's out there watching, but Al, salt of the earth, just early mentor for me, early coach. And he was like, I'm having trouble with my third column. He goes, Scott, this is how he talks. Scott, write something. Do something. Because right now, you got nothing. So if you do something, then you'll have something. So just do something. And then don't think too much. So
watch. Andrew's going to write a
see you. Kate, can't wait to see you on stage in the studio for the puppet, for your thought leader puppet role. I'll tell you more about it privately because I think it's going to be great for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Pedro. I think this was a great session. I always learn a lot when I do these. Pedro, nice meeting you. I've seen your name floating around. Now we know each other. So this is good.
Guys, the cat's out of the bag.
All right.
Awesome. Great chatting with you. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, Kate. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.